a thinking tool that helps people do whatever they want to do in a better way. So I suggest people really do mind maps the organic way or the traditional way for at least 6 months after deciding to use the tool regularly.
Welcome to the Stars of Learning podcast, where your host Jyoti Ji explores the minds of the thought leaders who have vast experience and in-depth knowledge in the learning industry. This podcast series will expose best practices of learning and will also discuss challenges, solutions, latest trends, tools and technology, leadership, and their journey in the learning field. Now, over to your host, Jyoti Ji.
Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to the Stars of Learning podcast, and I'm your host Jyoti Ji. I'm glad and happy that you are joining me today, as each episode of my show are sure to accelerate your learning, enhance your capability, connect with these inspiring leaders, and keep you well versed with the disruption or change happening currently and in the future at the learning phase. I also assure you that you will master the best of what people have already figured out. So friends, Tony Buzan says learning how to learn is life's most important skill, and he also says the mind map will change your life. Mind maps have infinite applications for business, education, and self-development. Whatever you're doing, you can do better with a mind map. Friends, I'm super excited and equally nervous for this show, as I'm very glad, privileged to do this interview, as our guest today is a magnificent personality, Mumbai's first mind map trainer, who has trained over 1,900 startups in mind mapping. Executives of many Fortune 500 companies and other giant companies like Google, Unilever, Johnson & Johnson, and many more have gone through this seminar. 25 plus years of experience in training, sales and marketing, he has conducted training and coaching for people across the globe. Guys, hold on, there is much more. He's appeared on prominent media like CNBC, BTVi, example Bloomberg TV India, Times of India, Business World, DNA, Z Business, and Channel V, and many other. He has joined the elite list of extremely rare human beings in the history of planet Earth, who has been a TEDx speaker not just once but 5 times, probably a world record for an Indian speaker. And his videos on TEDx channels has hit 3 billion views. He also gave rise to over 8 million reference pages on Google. And what more, he has also been declared a genius by Tony Buzan, Map Inventor, and Nobel Prize Nominee. Again, ranked number 1 in an international creativity test by Tony Buzan and Griffiths, CEO Think Buzan in Dubai. He's also conducted 360 plus mind map seminars, probably a world record. So friends, without any further delay, let me welcome my guest, Dharmendra Rai, mind map trainer. Dharmendra, thank you very much for joining us for today's show.
Thank you for the excellent introduction. And I'm very happy to join you on your show. I think it's getting to be very popular. I heard you're getting lots of views, and I'm sure your listeners are really benefiting from all these podcasts that you're doing.
Yes, Dharmendra. I have released 5 episodes till now, and we have around 800 plus listeners across 16 countries. And I am able to reach this spread because of the podcast. Thank you so much. And definitely it's an honor, and you have been humble in accepting my request to be part of this show, and also doing it twice. Yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah.
Most of it.
Yeah. So Dharmendra, my podcast will have a theme where I talk to an expert with what their passion is into and what is their USP. So with that, we are going to discuss on the mind map with you.
Sure.
So Dharmendra, you have had an amazing journey in your career, from financial background into sales and marketing, and now only in training, and that too specialization in mind map. Can you please tell your story for my listeners?
Yeah, certainly. I have always been an avid reader. I love to read books, and understand a lot about how we can become better. I have been reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie in my school days. I've read books on how to have a better memory by Harry Lorraine. And it's always been my uh, childhood ambition to keep sticking to that path of ultimately brain literacy. That is to understand how the brain works with respect to certain processes and activities that I am interested in. Now, I am not interested in understanding. Well, I am. I would. It's great to understand how the brain works as a biological organ, or how it controls respiration and motor movements of the body. Those are all wonderful. And if I get an opportunity to browse through those bits of information, it's definitely welcome. But my interest is in studying only those aspects of brain literacy which have to do with things that I am most interested in, like thinking, like learning, memory, creativity, the science of influence, productivity. So these are some of the things that I have been absolutely fascinated by, and I wanted to keep on being on the path of understanding that and training other people on that. But it was not easy to do that when I was in school way back in the 1980s because resources were not available very, very easily. So that's one of the reasons I had an alternate career path, which also I enjoy. But then I'm happy I had the chance to come back to my original passion and huge desire.
Yeah, that's important to make that shift when you know your passion. Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful, Dharmendra. Dharmendra, I also see your profile that you are a master practitioner in, neuro-linguistic programming. Did NLP also influence you to get into the mind map programming? Like, does it talk about memory, creativity, and all of this?
Yes, NLP is a very, very powerful subject. It is quite a big subject. It's a subject where if one really wants to understand it, he should devote a huge amount of time in his life. Say, uh, ideally, an NLP course should be at least for 6 months because it's a deep subject and covers a huge number of areas. So I definitely was interested in NLP from various angles, and more specifically from understanding how the brain works through NLP for areas like memory, creativity, and learning. So I would recommend NLP to everybody who generally wants to understand how his brain works, and then he can zero down on the specifics that he wants to explore in a deeper way.
Okay, so now that your main USP is mind map, can you help my listeners to understand about mind map? Maybe you want to share its definition or meaning, whatever it makes my listeners to know what it's all about.
Sure. I want to do this in as interactive way
Sure.
as possible through a podcast because it's not visual and I can't show them what a mind map looks like.
Yeah.
Now, a mind map is a thinking tool that helps people do whatever they want to do in a better way.
Okay.
Right? Everybody is struggling. Everybody wants to grow. Everybody has problems. And if they have a tool that makes life a little bit easier, and I must state here that it makes life easier, it doesn't make life easy, because easy is like an absolute term.
Right.
Nothing in life worthwhile is easy. There is an element of struggle and there is an element of grit. So that's going to remain. Yeah, even a basic thing like learning just about anything requires a certain amount of dedication and discipline and grit. And that is going to remain no matter which learning tool you're going to use. And I'm just saying with the mind map, it can become a little bit easier or substantially easier. But you still have to remember that you have to work hard if you want to learn anything new.
Yeah. That's a profound statement, Dharmendra. I think what you mentioned is, to do it in a better way. That's what is important. And when I was looking at your profile, Dharmendra, I was really mind blown looking at your profile. Seriously, I didn't know where to start. How do I get the, content from you? So, and your knowledge, the kind of a spread you have, and the connects with the thought leaders, number of certifications, I'm really mind blown. Hence, I became so inquisitive that I wanted to help my listeners to understand and benefit of knowing about mind map. Hence, I thought I will shoot you 5 Ws and 1H technique, as I'm keen to gather all the required information on mind map, so my listeners benefit out of it, and so they get that required insight.
Sure.
So, so for my listeners to understand what is 5W and 1H, it's a method of asking questions about a process to understand the subject better. I would start with why, what, who, where, when, and H stands for how. So, Dharmendra, I'm keen to start with why. Why mind map?
Okay, this is the answer to this is so huge. I could go on for several days on this. In fact, I've started the world's first web series on mind mapping.
Okay.
I've completed 5 episodes, and all of them look at one big personality who is known to millions or billions of people in the world. And some people may think I'm attacking them, but I'm not really attacking them. I'm just making an objective observation, and I'm a fan of some of those people.
Okay.
And observation is that they are not as smart as they think, and that is to highlight the research-backed phenomenon that most people in the world are not as smart as they think they are.
That's really scary.
So I've taken specific examples, but it's applicable to everybody. I just took examples of famous people so that people could relate to them. And one of the earliest examples I've taken is that of Donald Trump.
Okay.
So plenty of people, I have been following Donald Trump. I've been fascinated by his personality, by his energy, by his quirkiness since 1992.
You're that early follower.
So I've been following him. I've read virtually every book he's written, and I knew much more about him. And most people in the world came to know about him only when he appeared first in The Apprentice. That made him really popular. And after that, when he decided to stand as the US president. So plenty of people don't know about the failures of Donald Trump. And he's had, and you can check this on the internet, he's had a string of companies which have gone bankrupt.
Okay.
And there is a book of his, I think it's The Art of the Deal, or I'm not sure which one because I've read almost all the books he's written, where Donald Trump is narrating a conversation he is having with a friend of his. So they are in New York, he is talking to a friend, and they see a beggar. So yeah, New York also has beggars, which was amazing to me, but it's amazing.
Okay.
How such a rich and smart country still has beggars is very difficult to understand. But there was a beggar near Donald Trump and his friend, and Donald Trump looks at the beggar, looks back at his friend, and tells him that beggar is richer than I am.
Oh gosh.
And his friend says, obviously you're joking. I mean, you're such a big guy. How is it possible? And he says, I'm not joking. My net worth is minus $400 million.
Okay.
So that's how much I'm worth. Minus $400 million. And the beggar there has about $20 to $30.
Okay.
So he's richer by $400 million. Donald Trump has had lots of bankruptcies, and in this case, whatever he's told his friend seems to imply that he himself was personally bankrupt, though he's denied that later on in typical Trump fashion. So this is one anecdotal experience that plenty of people who may be very rich right now or they were praised by the media and they were very, very famous, and most people think of these guys as super successful. They don't realize that these guys have had major failures. And we know of them and we talk about them just because they've been lucky enough to bounce back after their failures.
I think that's insightful research based data and how people can bounce back from ruggers to riches. Wow.
Like most people who have a negative net worth of $400 million do not bounce back. They just don't bounce back because nobody's willing to lend money and they've generally have a society that's lost confidence in them. But these are some of the lucky ones, and that's why we know about them and we talk about them, and the media tends to portray them as superheroes.
Okay.
So that's why you need a mental tool to think better, and a mind map is one of the best tools available. It's one of the simplest tools available. So there could be tools which promise you that they can benefit you much more, but they're not very simple to use. So plenty of people then don't use them.
Okay.
Whereas a mind map is really simple. And one of the most obvious demonstrations of that is you can go to Google Images. And now Google Images used to throw out the number of search results. I don't think it does that anymore. But about a year ago, when I Googled Google Images for Mindspace Map, I got more than 1 billion images.
Okay.
So that's because many people are using it for various purposes. So that's the why. The why is that most people are not as smart as they think they are. They should use as many tools and as much support from the external world as possible to think better. And a mind map is one of the most powerful tools as demonstrated by the usage.
Okay. Profound information, Dharmendra. So, for what can I use mind maps for?
For whatever you want.
Okay.
I have trained 6-year-old children in using mind maps just for fun, for studies. School children have used it to cut down the revision time by 90%. Teachers have used it to enhance their own studies in a particular subject and to present a syllabus to students. Parents have used it to make learning fun for their children. I've trained over 2,000 startups to have better business sense in their companies. I've trained very senior people from Fortune 500 companies like Google. In fact, Mr. Satya, who is currently the head of YouTube in India, and obviously YouTube is a Google company, has been one of the attendees in my sessions. So that he would use it to become more creative and increase the revenues of YouTube in India. So everybody has his own area that he wants to develop, and a mind map can help him there.
Okay. Wonderful. And who created this mind map?
Its creator unfortunately died just last month on 13th April. The creator was Tony Buzan. And it's terrible that he died at a very young age. I died at the age of 76. I'm saying very young because I just met him in February when he was in India. And at 76, he had more energy than I do, and I am below 50. So it's really horrible that we've lost him at a pretty young age.
Oh God, this is shocking.
And he thought of the idea of mind maps when he was struggling with his studies way back in the 1950s and 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
He created this tool, it helped him a lot, and he said he searched around for other tools. He didn't find any other tools. So he made it his mission to obviously use mind maps a lot in his own personal life for his self-improvement and also spread the word around. And he's been a brilliant, brilliant marketer. One of his biggest breakthroughs in spreading the information about mind maps and taking mind maps to the world was a BBC series called Use Your Head.
Okay.
So that was really a big platform which made mind maps a household word across the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I really regret that we have lost such a wonderful personality and a great leader, Dharmendra.
And I saw that video, Dharmendra, of yours and Tony Buzan, the kind of energy, the kind of information he was sharing with. It was really amazing insight. I got it just with one small video, and the kind of a work he has done, definitely an amazing opportunity for people to explore on mind map. Yeah.
Right. And that was his last interview in India.
Okay.
And you won't believe it. That interview was close to 7 o'clock, 7 p.m.
Okay.
after 3 days of seminar.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So I was not even, I was assisting him in those seminars, but I wasn't speaking in those seminars in those 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And at 7 o'clock on the third day, he had more energy than I did, which is obvious in the video.
Okay.
So you can understand how passionately he lived his life and how he was able to absorb life in a deeper way, because he would mind map furiously. And I did a few mind maps which he kept which he used in his diary as a remembrance of our meetings. So it was like mind maps all the way.
Okay. Okay.
That's an amazing journey.
I think then what are the techniques used in mind map, Dharmendra?
And now I want to sound a note of caution here. I would request people not to jump on the app bandwagon, because there are more than 300 free as well as paid apps on mind mapping, and people generally want to jump quickly onto an app for just about anything nowadays. And I am very, very careful in suggesting, and I think people should be very careful about doing that, because it's really affecting their brains in a very negative way. There are various ways in which you can do mind mapping, but one of the reasons why it's become very popular is because it's the cheapest and most convenient way to use your whole brain.
Right. And it is for yourself.
It's for yourself, or it could be for others, or both.
Okay.
So plenty of people are aware of the concept of whole brain thinking, that we have a left brain and a right brain, and the left brain is good at logic and lines and lists, and that the right brain is better at emotions and visuals and daydreaming. At the same time, they've never really done anything about it. The concept of whole brain thinking is very, very old. In 1981, a gentleman called Professor Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize for proving the concept of whole brain thinking, and the fact that we had a left brain which is better at certain functions and a right brain which is better at certain functions.
Right.
So since there was a Nobel Prize, there were lots of people who wrote about it, plenty of books were published, plenty of papers were published, plenty of newspaper articles appeared. At the same time, when I'm in a session, and let's say there are 200 people in a session, I ask them, how many of you are aware of whole brain thinking? Almost everybody puts up their hands, because it's been there since 1981. And then I request them to not put down their hands and ask them a second question, which is, so the first question is, how many of you are aware of whole brain thinking?
Yeah.
Almost all 200 hands are up. And I say, okay, please keep your hand up. And now respond to my second question. My second question is, how many of you have done something about it? You've done something to ensure that you're using whole brain thinking in your daily life. And not a single hand remains up, not one. This is a group which has not been exposed to mind mapping.
A very powerful question you've asked. Yeah, application is important.
Yeah, and these books, they definitely fulfilled a need, in the sense they told people something that was backed by science and something that was very powerful, but then they didn't leave them with a tool that could be used easily, in which case all that information ultimately gets forgotten because it's not applied.
Yeah.
So I suggest that people apply it the right way, and the right way is by using a pen or even a pencil and a basic piece of paper. Even a paper napkin is good enough. And that's how cheap, that's how low cost making a mind map can be. If you got colors, obviously use colors, but I'm saying even without colors, you can make a very good mind map. If you have colors, you should definitely use colors. So you don't need an elaborate setup. You don't need a mobile phone. You don't need an app. So I suggest people really do mind maps the organic way or the traditional way for at least 6 months after deciding to use the tool regularly. And use the software only when it's necessary. So you want to store the mind maps in a soft copy because you want to edit it later, or you want to prepare a JPEG, or you want to email it, or you want to make it a keynote or a PPT. Fine. In that case, you need to use apps, but whenever you're using apps, at least start with a handmade mind map.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
totally agree with you, Dharmendra. Even though you have loads of information available, start in an organic way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And also have a coach or a mentor who can actually take you on a right track, even though there are loads of information available.
Yeah, there's too much information is like no information.
True.
Because then how do you decide which information to look at and which is from a credible source and all that? So there's a lot of research to prove that when people are using the traditional note-taking method versus, so there have been a large number of students who have taken down notes in a class on a laptop and a large number of people who've taken down notes in the traditional way, just putting pen to paper.
Okay.
And research has proved that people who have taken down notes in the traditional way, not even using mind maps, using linear notes, the traditional guys have done better in terms of comprehension and memory
Okay.
compared to people who took notes on their laptops, because you're disassociated with the information. Your nervous system is not as deeply involved. Your kinesthetic sense is not there. Your muscle memory is not there. So it just doesn't work as effectively.
Right, right. So now we understood that on the concept of the technique and all that, Dharmendra. Is there a specific advantage or benefit of using mind map?
There are plenty of benefits. The best way to answer this question would be just like plenty of people ask me, what's a good book to read? And I say that's not the best question. If you tell me what's a good book to read with a reference to what is your biggest pain point in life right now,
Okay.
that then if I know about that subject, then I could recommend a good book there, because my good book may not make any sense to you. So similarly, the mind map has so many uses. It enhances your learning, it enhances your memory, it enhances your creativity. The latest book for which I interviewed Tony Buzan, and that book is not officially released yet, is called Mind Mapping for Mindfulness.
Okay.
So there was a gentleman called Joshua Foer who has written a book called Moonwalking with Einstein. Joshua Foer is a science journalist who got fascinated by the concept of systems of memory. You can enhance your memory by using certain strategies like the memory palace or the mind palace or the loci system or the link system or the peg system. And he got fascinated with these techniques and he decided to study them. He spoke a lot to Tony, met him plenty of times, and Tony figures a lot in that book, Moonwalking with Einstein.
Okay.
Now, the significant thing was that he got so fascinated by these memory championships that happen very regularly, even in India now, thanks to Tony. But they definitely have been happening for a long time now in UK and the US, and Joshua Foer is from the US. So he started training for memory championships, for the US memory championship, by putting in 3 to 4 hours every day.
Okay.
He, to his great surprise and to everybody's great surprise, he won. He actually won the US memory championships by using Tony's techniques of memory. And he's made a very profound statement, and people should really take his statement seriously because he is officially the man in the US with the best memory. And he's made a statement saying that when you make a mind map, you have to be mindful. You cannot not be mindful. Whereas you can be unmindful when you're taking down linear notes. Okay, this is a paraphrasing of what he said. I obviously know that the minute I made my first mind map, I knew that I can't make it if I'm speaking on the phone at the same time or doing something else. But this gets a lot of credibility when it comes from a US memory championship, and that too after he's in a way been coached by Tony.
Right.
So if somebody's looking at enhancing his memory or mindfulness or creativity or learning, whatever he's planning to do, he can use a mind map and then focus more on those aspects that he's trying to improve.
Yeah, wonderful insight, Dharmendra. I think you also brought in a very important element saying the sourcing of information is available, but the need is important to identify what is the problem or what is the need, and then you go to get the benefit or the sourcing of the information. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So with this, Dharmendra, I also hear you saying that, from a 6-year-old to parent to teachers and many other people are using it. But just wanted to understand from you being an expert, when would we be able to use this? I mean, when can we start using it? Is there a limit on the age, or is there any prerequisite, to start mind mapping?
Nothing's too early and nothing's too late.
Okay.
So even a child can make just some doodles here and there, mind map like, and that itself has huge benefits. So whenever they're ready, 5 years old, 6 years old, and till whenever they can keep going. Because the earlier children train on mind maps, the earlier they get the benefits of cutting down the revision time and understanding things in a deeper way. And they keep mind mapping as old as they become. It helps to reduce cognitive decline, which happens to plenty of people, not just because of aging, but because they're aging and not using the brains in a way that they should be using.
Okay.
So you have benefits at both ends. It's like a skill. You might as well get that skill under your skin as early as possible so that you get the maximum benefit of it throughout your life. It's like learning a language.
Yeah.
The more languages you learn when you're a child, the better it is, because then once you grow, it's very difficult to learn another language. It takes a huge amount of time, energy, and money.
Yeah, and with this, I recall I was reading somewhere that we use some point tree of our brain skills, consciously or subconsciously, something like that. So we have to keep using it to make it active, and we have to tap the subconscious mind to make it conscious.
Okay, now there are plenty of myths about the brain, and this is a myth at the same time. It's a myth which has helped people rather than hurt people.
Okay.
We are using 100% of our brains.
Uh-huh.
The point is, we can use it in a substantially better way. So the horsepower is there, but then the car has to go in the right direction.
Okay.
Map helps you think in a better way. It's not so much as increasing the quantity of thinking as improving the quality of thinking. Because we are cognitive misers. Our brains are conditioned to not really do too much thinking. Because the brain consumes about 20 to 25% of the energy in the entire body. 20 to 25%.
Okay.
So if it starts thinking at a higher rate, then we're going to faint. So it's not so much about quantity as about quality. There's a limit to what you can do about the quantity of thinking, because there's only so much energy that the body can give the brain.
Okay. I think thanks for that insight, Dharmendra. I think you answered, all the essential stuff required on, what, why, where, and all of that. And also, I'm curious to know, is there any connection with a heart and soul also in mind mapping, or does that operate exclusive?
So I'm an atheist. I do not believe in the concept of the soul. So I think if I see a real-time graph of your users, plenty of the non-atheists will drop off at this stage.
Okay.
It has to do with plenty of ways in which people think. So, in fact, it's a better way, I'm sure, of capturing emotions than mere handwriting. The subject of graphology, the jury's out as to how effective graphology is, which is the study of handwriting.
Right.
So a trained graphologist claims to understand what kind of person you are and what are your skills and whether you're a healthy person or an unhealthy person in terms of both physical and mental activity. So there's been a lot of debate about whether it really works, but I have a lot of very good sources which claim that graphology works. The invent of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle, believed in graphology. Sherlock Holmes, in his cases, used to use graphology quite a lot. I understand that graphology is being used by the smartest investigative agencies in the world, including the secret services of the most developed countries in the world. So I believe in graphology.
Okay.
And graphology is also connected to understanding how people are and reading people through their drawing. Right? And a mind map is a drawing. So I think this is an open field. People who are listening to this podcast who are great believers in psychographics and who are in HR and who are in recruitment and who are in skill assessment.
Okay.
This is something that can literally define their careers, because you can invent something new. You can do, just like graphology is a systematic study of handwriting, and drawing analysis is a systematic study of analysis of a person's drawing. Based on this, people can then decide whether they want to marry somebody or whether they want to recruit somebody in their companies, just like other psychographic tests. Somebody could really make a career out of offering to analyze mind maps for recruitment purposes.
Okay.
I think there's a huge potential there. I may do it right now. There is no time for me to do it because I'm very busy going out there and communicating about the current ideas relating to mind mapping to lots of Fortune 500 companies. But let's say drawing, color. Just to give you a quick anecdotal thing here, children who've been through extremely traumatic experiences, and we have a cyclone and a storm in Orissa right now, and we as a country we've handled it wonderfully, but in plenty of other parts of the world these disasters are not handled well, and they leave lots of orphans behind. So there have been orphans of such a kind of tragedy where they're often because of a particular calamity like a storm, and these children are put in rehabilitation centers, and the counselors and psychologists work with them trying to get their mental health back on track. These children who've gone through trauma immediately are given drawing assignments. They're just given lots of color pencils and paper, and they're suggested to draw because that's healing and it distracts them from what's happened, and children love to draw.
Okay.
It is observed that children who have just gone through a trauma do not use colors. In the sense they don't use non-black colors. They want to stick only with one color, and that's black.
Okay.
They're allowed to choose the colors. It's their decision. They're not prompted by somebody to use a certain color. As they get better, then they start using the normal colors like red and blue and yellow and all that.
Okay.
Now, that's just one bit of information I have got from a very absolutely well-known source and a reliable source. So this is just one aspect. I mean, just imagine how many aspects of a mind map are there that can be studied and catalogued, and a science could be made out of this.
True. And Dharmendra, you have been sharing mind map techniques to volume of people. Do you want to share any story where your participants have used it effectively?
Okay, so there are plenty of people who have used it, who are in business and who made a lot of money out of it. So I just want to give two instances. One of them has been very clear. He's given me something absolutely crystal clear in terms of how much money he's made.
Okay.
by using a mind map. And the other gentleman, he's not told me how much money he's made, but he is such a successful and wealthy and respected person that he's at a certain strata of society. He's at a certain strata of people in this world who never waste time. There are plenty of people. Let's say Mr. Mukesh Ambani. Let's say Richard Branson, let's say Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
These guys are not going to waste time with a tool just because it looks cute or because other people are using it or because it's well advertised. They're too smart for that. So that's why it's a real testimonial. It's an unbeatable testimonial.
Okay.
So I want to add a third name to that list. But this gentleman is not trained by me. He's probably read a book or probably Tony's met him. So just deviating slightly from your question, just for about 10 seconds, Bill Gates has spoken very adoringly about mind maps in an article in Newsweek in 2006.
Okay.
He's obviously made a connection to the software because he's a software guy and he wanted to talk a lot about software.
Mm-hmm.
And the very statement he's made is a new generation of mind mapping software can be used as a digital blank slate to connect and synthesize ideas and data to provide new information,
Oh, okay.
to provide new ideas or new insights.
Hmm.
Okay, now that's for me is the biggest testimonial in the world because it's Bill Gates, and that time he was the richest man in the world, and now he's not the richest man in the world because he's given his wealth to charity. Otherwise, he would still be the richest man in
The
the world.
richest, yeah. True.
Anyway, Jeff Bezos has given $68 billion to his wife, so he's not as rich as he used to be.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm you taking advantage of your question to show off about Bill Gates endorsing mind maps. Now, to come back to your question, there are two really substantial people that I have been lucky to have as my attendees. So one of them has allowed me to, and I'm just comfortable mentioning his name, and his name is Pradeep Shah.
Okay.
Pradeep Shah was the first time I came to know about him was when I was an MBA student way back in 1992 when I saw a cover of a magazine. I think it was Business World or Business Today.
Mm-hmm.
It had the cover of Pradeep Shah, Mr. Pradeep Shah, who it was mentioned that this man earns the highest salary in India.
Okay.
I think it was about 1 crore a month that time. I said, oh my gosh, this guy has to be incredible. He's from Harvard, and plenty of people know him through the company that he started. And he started India's first and most respected credit rating agency that's called CRISIL.
Okay.
Yeah, Credit Rating and Information Services India Limited. So he attended one of my sessions when I did it for the World Presence Organization or WPO. And I met him 3 or 4 years later. I thought he wouldn't recognize me or he would have forgotten because people at his level are exposed to so many tools and they go for so many seminars. But going back to what I said at the beginning, the smartest people in the world want to become smarter and the dumbest people in the world think they're very smart. And so he immediately recognized me and he said, oh, you did seminar on mind mapping and I've used mind mapping a lot and I've really benefited and it's a wonderful tool. And I gave you the highest feedback in that course. Which
okay.
I didn't get because that was submitted to WPO and that was confidential.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
this is so now he's a fund manager now, so he hasn't told me how many billions of dollars he's made because of mind mapping. But since he's a fund manager, I presume that he's used it in becoming a better fund manager. So this was one huge testimonial, and the other testimonial is from a gentleman who doesn't want to be named, but he is the chief executive of one of the largest cosmetics companies in the world.
Okay.
Which has an Indian background, which is an Indian origin. Okay, so there are not too many of that. You can put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
So this gentleman attended a session of mine in Delhi, so that's another big hint there. And later on, he put a mind map on my wall. He tagged me. He put a mind map on his Facebook wall and he tagged me, so I've got it on my Facebook wall now. And he's mentioned that this mind map brainstorming helped us earn a net profit of 20 crores in one meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this meeting was with his sales team.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Okay.
obviously, I also want to be careful while talking about this testimonial because it's not that you're going to earn 20 crores every time you use a mind map. That's not the point.
Right.
The point is, it's a tool that enhances the probability of success.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no guarantee. There's no tool that can give you a guarantee. Anybody who gives you a guarantee just about anything in this world is a con man.
It's a hard work. It's how effective you're going to use the tool matters.
Yeah, and is the tool a tried and tested tool? Does it really enhance the probability of success? If it does, then even if you don't get the results, you know that you use the right tool. If you find a better tool, please go ahead and use it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying MindMap. I may say MindMap is the ultimate tool to make an impact, but there's no such thing as the ultimate tool.
True.
If you find a better tool than mind maps, please go ahead and use it. I'm not propagating mind maps as much as I'm propagating brain literacy.
Okay. Yeah. That's an important aspect. Yeah. So since we are talking about the tools, and Dharmendra, you also mentioned that our listeners has to be cautious and be organic on using it. But is there any input, like as a beginner, for my listeners to start with any of the software or an app you recommend?
No, I specifically don't mention any app because that would be encouraging people to use an app right away.
Okay.
Yeah, so people are welcome to connect to me on Facebook and LinkedIn,
Okay.
and I would definitely then be happy to share my suggestions about which is a good app, and I also have the links to both free and paid software which I could forward to them.
Okay. So Dharmendra, when you mentioned about the mind map, the thought process, and being creative, and you can use it scientifically, all of that. And when my users are trying to put this on a pen and paper, what is your one recommendation? Because when you start putting a topic or the need what you have identified, then if there is idea strike, then there are loads of input coming to individuals. How do they structure that to achieve what they are looking for?
Right. Could you just clarify ideas of, I think you said strife?
Yeah, there could be, like when you're walking on a street and there is an idea strike to you, and you take a pen and paper and you scribble your thoughts, right? So
Right.
is there any input or a suggestion from your end, like when I begin taking a pen and paper, what should be my most important thought process on putting that my idea in a structured way or a logical? I don't know, so I want your guidance on it.
Okay, and so first of all, you brought up a very important point about carrying a pen and paper with you 24/7.
Yes, I do that.
You'll be shocked. Very few people in the world do it.
True, yeah. I also
Because they've
see
not-
that in my corporate life also. People come to meeting without pen and paper.
It's a terrible habit.
Yeah.
So I've also been trained in GTD, or getting things done,
Okay.
which is according to me, it's the best productivity, the best techniques of productivity in the world that I've ever come across, and I've been researching a lot about productivity, and I'm also going to create my own brand of productivity training. I'm planning to call it ruthless productivity, because there is
The
an
name is
element of
catchy, Dharmendra.
yeah. So there's an element of push. There are too many people who are trying to say that life is easy, and I'm telling you, no, you have to be ruthless. It's not easy. You have to be ruthless with yourself as well. So if you want to be productive, it's impossible to be productive without being absolutely ruthless about it. You've got to push yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to have some strict rules as far as your interaction with other people are concerned. So otherwise, it's not going to happen. So yes, having a collection bucket, as David Allen would say, or a series of collection buckets. But one of the easiest collection buckets is a pen and paper that you carry with you throughout. Sometimes I don't carry a paper, but I've got a pen. It's called a sign pen, which writes on my skin.
Okay.
So then I write on my skin. So it looks cool also. People think it's a tattoo. So
Wonderful. I also have my WhatsApp notes where quickly I type in that so that I don't miss out on that information what I've gained.
right. So ideally, again, I would suggest the organic path, but WhatsApp is available, and another option is the audio options. You have audio software, and you can. So plenty of people use different modes depending on what's convenient for them.
True.
So this way you can capture an idea, and then if you want to use mind maps just for the purpose of brainstorming and trying to get more ideas of that one idea that you've got, then you would not need pictures, and you would not need colors, and you just do something called sunbursting.
Okay.
Since I can't show it to you, I think sunburst is the right word to use, because you can imagine a circle and lines coming out of that circle, just like sun rays coming out of the sun.
Right. That's what I was visualizing when you said sunburst.
Right. Yeah. So then you write words that are associated with the word in the center. So you draw a circle and you put the word in the center that you want to brainstorm about. And then you keep on writing words that come to your mind based on the word in the middle.
Okay.
And then you can go on and on. You got to set a time limit for it because you can go on infinitely. You can go from A to B, then B to C, then C to D, and so on. You can just keep going. So you have to have a time limit. You got to have lots of paper so that you can really go on without getting interrupted by running out of paper. And you got to do it fast. When you're just generating ideas, then you should just generate. You should not then try to evaluate at the same time. There's a very powerful statement made by Edward de Bono, who is the inventor of lateral thinking. He's such a great thinker that he's been recognized by Time as among the 100 most influential people who have contributed to human thinking. And he's also got a planet named after him.
Oh, okay.
That's huge. He was also nominated for a Nobel Prize in Economics. Incidentally, Tony Buzan was also nominated for a Nobel Prize for peace because of his contribution to education.
Okay.
Through mind mapping and brain literacy. So the statement that he has made is that the biggest problem with people's brains or with people's thinking is they're trying to think about too many things at one time, which is very applicable to everything, but especially to creativity, because when you're being creative, you should just focus on generating ideas in terms of quantity, not quality.
Okay.
Yeah, ultimately you want quality, but then if you tell your brain, I want quality, it doesn't work. Right? It's like asking a chief executive of a company, what's the objective of the company? And he says, objective of the company is to make money. Yeah, I mean, we know that. But then if that's the way you're going to mention your objective, you're never going to achieve it because you need to have an indirect way to doing it, to getting money.
True.
Google wants to have a search. Maybe the chief executive of Google, Brennan Page, probably wanted to organize the information on the internet so it's easily available and easily findable or searchable. Okay, so they won't say, oh, the objective of Google is to make money, because that's not a helpful way to think about it. So you obviously want quality ideas. You obviously want a solution to the problem. But if you're going to tell your brain, I want a solution to the problem, you're not giving your brain a good, resourceful direction to go into.
Yeah.
So one way, and this is one of the most ironclad rules of creativity. Any creative genius would agree to this rule, has practiced and lived this rule in his life. And that is, if you want a good idea, you've got to have lots of ideas.
Okay.
You just got to generate. You've got to generate hundreds of ideas, thousands of ideas, and then you'll discard 99 ideas out of 100, or you'll discard all 100 ideas. There is no other way. That's just the way the brain works. If somebody's just thought of a brilliant idea without really doing a brainstorming process, then it's luck. Luck is not a strategy.
Right.
You can't replicate.
Yeah. Very rightly said.
So use a sunburst diagram. First of all, decide how much time you're going to devote to it. Then use a sunburst diagram. Then ensure you have lots of paper so that you don't waste time searching for paper again. And the third thing is focus on quantity, not on quality. All the stuff about evaluating and implementation comes later. It does not come at this stage.
Okay. Yeah. That's a profound information on the planning, the phases which you have mentioned, Dharmendra.
So guys, I'm sure you have gained greater insight on mind map and all 5W and 1H, the techniques and applications, and how relevant mind map for our success and growth. And this is not the end, guys. Our conversation will continue on the quest for mind mapping and brain literacy as part 2 episode, and we will deep dive on the approach which Dharmendra has taken and how he has transformed connecting with great leaders through the mind map journey. I look forward you joining us back on the part 2 episode. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and if you have got any learning or motivated hearing to this show, then make sure you share this podcast with your friends and post it on all social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Insta, and do tag us and let your friends know about this amazing information you have learned, and let this piece of information help many others to engage, enlighten, and empower. Thank you so much for your patience and tuning into this show. Bye for now. Take good care of yourself and go out and do something engaging, enlightening, and empowering.